Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Brimlow, and today I'd like to continue working with you on, writing repeating decimals as fractions. So if you could take out the notes from yesterday, if you have them. If not, you can just follow along in the video. So yesterday we learned how to algebraically turn repeating decimals into fractions. Since they don't end, we don't know what place value to use, okay? And you may have started to notice a pattern as we were going through that I'd like to point out to you before we look at our last example today. So in our first example, we had to change 0.5 repeating into a fraction, and we found that to be 5 over 9, okay? So then we had 0.7 repeating. We found that to be 7 out of 9. So far we have 0.5 repeating as 5 out of 9, and then 0.7 as 7 out of 9. Okay. Flipping to the back, we had 0.23 repeating, and that was 23 out of 99. So I want you to take a minute to see if you can see the pattern. Pause the video, look through your notes, think about what you just saw, and then unpause to see if your theory is correct. So what you should notice is that when you have a repeating pattern where everything after the decimal point is repeating, that's really important. Everything has to be repeating. If it's only 1 or 2 digits out of 3 or more, then this doesn't apply. But that's all we're going to work with this year. Whatever it is going to be your numerator. That pattern is the numerator. And then it's going to be over some sort of set of nines. So for example, when it's just 1 digit repeating, such as 0.5, 5 is your numerator, 9 is the denominator. We only have 1 because it's in the tens place. But we know it's not quite 10 because it goes on forever. So 7 is going to be in the numerator out of 9. Okay. Here we had 23 repeating, so it's 23. And because it's 2 digits, it's going to be out of 99. If I had 0.575 repeating, it would be 575 out of 999, and so on and so forth. So this last example I'd like to do with you, you're going to notice we already have a whole number. Now, using that same logic, we already know that this should be 2 1/9 because 1 is repeating. It's the only digit, so we know that should be 1 out of 9. And the whole number really is unaffected. However, when you have to write this as a fraction, meaning one number, this is considered a mixed number, okay? So this is a mixed number. A fraction would mean that there's no whole number, so it would be an improper fraction. You can't use this pattern when there's a whole number involved, and I'm going to show you now, okay? So we're still going to use the process we learned yesterday. So we're going to let x equal our original number, okay? So we are going to ignore the whole number for now, and we're still focusing just on that repeating decimal. So we know that we need to move the decimal over however many places is repeating, which is only 1 in this case. So I can't just move it over. I know I have to multiply by a base or power of 10. So 1 time means I'm just going to multiply this by 10. Okay. So when I do that, I have 10 times x. Okay. Now that 2 stays, that 2 is unaffected. What we're doing is moving it over once, so now we have a 1 in front of the decimal point as well as the 2, and then 1 still continues to go on and on forever, so it will look like 21.1 repeating. Just like we did yesterday, we still need to subtract the original number in order to eliminate that decimal because we don't want decimals in our fractions. So that happens. This is where it's different from yesterday and when you can't just use the pattern when you're working with a mixed number or a whole number in front of the decimal. Usually we see some number minus 0, but because we had a whole number to start with in front of our decimal, we have to subtract it from what our multiplied equation is. So 21 minus 2 is 19. 10x minus x is 9x. We still divide by 9. So as a fraction, this is 19 over 9. You can't just guess that like you can using the pattern when there's no whole number. So this is why it's really important to show your work, because as the problems get more complex and there's more steps or things that you need to be more aware of, this is how you catch it. a shortcut or a trick like we saw, or recognizing a pattern, because that's what math is. It's recognizing patterns to make harder problems easier for us to solve. And where that trick or pattern we can use for a problem like this, it's good to rely on the math so you understand it and have a go-to so that you know you can get it right if you follow the process correctly and you use your math skills correctly. Okay. So as a fraction, this is 19 over 9. Once again, you couldn't have guessed that. Okay. So 19 over 9. And then as a mixed number, 2 and 1/9. Okay. So if I change this, 19 divided by 9, well, 9 goes into 19 evenly 2 times. 2 times 9 is 18. We have 1 left over. Okay. All right. So you're going to continue practicing this with whatever's in Canvas or whatever the teacher has for you. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will chat with you soon.